There is construction activity in Pagasa Island of a military facility and other structures.
In the South China Sea, the fight isn't just happening with ships or aircraft. It's happening with law, infrastructure, and long-term strategy. Every runway built, every patrol challenged, and every ruling issued becomes part of a larger contest over what actually defines sovereignty: legal declarations on paper or control on the water. Turning Pagasa Island into a true forward operating base isn't just an upgrade, it's a statement. It means staying present, backing joint missions, and being ready to respond at a moment's notice. This is what a mission-driven, capability-focused force looks like. Every system built, every upgrade made, it all serves one purpose: showing up consistently when it matters most. Because for years, the reality was hard to ignore. China had already built a heavily fortified military base right inside waters the Philippines claims as its own. And Manila? It had almost no way to push back. No dependable runway, no fast reinforcements, no rapid response. Just a fragile strip of grass on a remote island, 270 nautical miles from the mainland, that turned into mud every time it rained. While China transformed Subi Reef into a full-scale military hub, fighter jet runways, missile systems, radar arrays, the Philippines was left watching from just 12 nautical miles away, struggling to land even a basic cargo plane. But that's no longer the case. Just days ago, the Philippine Air Force officially unveiled a fully operational basing system on Pagasa Island. A hardened runway, a brand new hangar, infrastructure designed to support sustained air operations in one of the most contested regions on the planet. For the first time, the Philippines now has a real forward base, positioned face-to-face with one of China's most assertive outposts in the Spratly Islands. This is what deterrence looks like when a country decides it's done waiting. Not long ago, Pagasa's airstrip was barely functional, just 850 meters of cracked ground that became unusable after a single downpour. Pilots needed days of perfect weather just to attempt a landing. Meanwhile, civilians lived there, soldiers stood guard there. But reliable access, it simply didn't exist. Now that story has changed. The Philippine Air Force has completed a 3-kilometer concrete runway, along with a modern hangar and a full support system built to keep aircraft mission-ready, even this far out in the South China Sea. That's 270 nautical miles from the mainland, and it's fully operational. Let that sink in. Aircraft like the C-13 can now land with ease, bringing in troops, equipment, and supplies faster, more reliably, and in conditions that would have shut everything down before. An island that was once isolated is now connected. An outpost that was once exposed is now fortified. This didn't happen overnight. It took years of planning and billions in investment. In fact, over 1.65 billion pesos was allocated in the 2025 national budget alone. This wasn't luck. It was a calculated move, strategic, intentional, timed. And to really understand why Pagasa matters, just look at the map. Subi Reef sits only 12 nautical miles away, close enough to watch, close enough to respond. And now, for the first time, close enough to matter. That puts Subi Reef inside Pagasa's own 12 nautical mile territorial zone. Let that land for a second. This isn't just about China building somewhere in the South China Sea. It built a military base inside the territorial waters of a Philippine-held island. And what went up there? Not a fishing outpost, not a simple Coast Guard station. A full-blown military installation, long runways capable of handling fighter jets, advanced radar systems, aircraft hangars, and anti-ship missile platforms. Across the region, China has reclaimed roughly 3,000 hectares of land, inside and beyond the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, transforming reefs into major strongholds. Subi Reef is one of the most prominent. Even though it sits just about 12 to 15 nautical miles from Pagasa, It technically falls outside the Philippine EEZ, but its proximity tells the real story. And the Philippine Navy made it clear back in 2024, Subi Reef is fully militarized. Now picture this. A Philippine Air Force pilot lifts off from the mainland, heading west. Hours into the flight, he lines up his approach to Pagasa Island. On the way in, he passes right by Subi Reef. That's where it gets tense. Last August, Chinese forces stationed there fired 16 military flares at a Philippine patrol aircraft making that exact approach. 16. Then came the warning over the radio. This is Chinese territory. Leave immediately. The pilot held course. That's the reality out there. Every single resupply mission, every patrol, every landing on Pagasa happens under the watch and pressure of a nearby Chinese military base. A base built despite international rulings, including the 2016 tribunal decision that rejected Beijing's claims. A ruling China chose to ignore. The new runway on Pagasa doesn't erase that threat, but it changes the equation. For the first time, the Philippines can show up and stay, operate consistently, land aircraft in tough conditions, keep missions going, no matter the weather or the warnings over the radio. Pagasa alone won't deter a superpower, but Pagasa isn't standing alone anymore. Look at the bigger picture. The Philippines is building a network, a new military runway on Pagasa Island in Palawan. Expanded access to multiple bases under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement with the United States. 9 EDCA sites spread across the country, some facing Taiwan to the north, others watching the South China Sea to the west. And now, a hardened airbase on Pagasa, the most forward position in that entire chain. This is what military planners call distributed basing. And it's exactly the kind of strategy that complicates China's playbook. Because one big base, easy to track, easy to target, easy to plan around. But a web of smaller connected bases, linked by runways, supply lines, and allied support, that's a different challenge entirely. To shut it down, you'd have to hit everything at once. Miss even one node, and it keeps operating. Pagasa is now one of those nodes. It can take in aircraft, it can stockpile supplies, and most importantly, it can stay in the fight. Pagasa isn't just a runway anymore. It now hosts a full Coast Guard district base, a permanent Marine garrison, and a Navy vessel positioned just offshore. This isn't a simple upgrade. It's a shift. The Philippines didn't just pour concrete. They established a sustained presence nearly 270 nautical miles into some of the most contested waters on Earth. And make no mistake, the United States is paying close attention. Because this isn't just about Philippine defense. Places like Balabac, Pagasa, and the network of EDCA sites are part of a much bigger picture. They help keep the first island chain contested, make Chinese power projection more difficult and costly, and ensure allies are already in position long before any crisis begins. Beijing sees that clearly, and that's exactly why the pressure hasn't let up. China didn't wait for any ribbon-cutting ceremony to react. The response has been steady, calculated, and carefully kept just below the line of open conflict. Water cannons, laser targeting, military flares, radio warnings, ship collisions. This is gray zone warfare, and it's been playing out around Pagasa for years. As construction on the island picked up, so did the intensity. In October 2025, a Chinese Coast Guard vessel rammed and blasted a Philippine fisheries ship with water cannons less than 2 nautical miles from Pagasa. 2 nautical miles. That's not disputed space. That's deep inside the island's territorial waters. That wasn't a navigation error. It was a signal, a direct message to Manila. Building infrastructure doesn't change sovereignty. But here's the part that really matters. If Pagasa didn't matter, China wouldn't react this way. You don't fire 16 military flares at an approaching aircraft unless you see it as a threat. You don't ram civilian vessels unless you're trying to intimidate them into backing off. The intensity of China's actions reveals something important. The Philippine buildup is getting noticed, and it's having an effect. There's a clear pattern across the West Philippine Sea. Every Philippine move, whether it's a resupply mission, a patrol flight, or a construction project, triggers pressure from China. And every time the Philippines holds its ground and pushes forward anyway, something shifts. Not because it can outmatch China militarily, but because it keeps raising the cost of coercion. That's where deterrence starts to take shape. Pagasa's new runway didn't provoke tension. It responded to a reality that already existed. And beneath all of this is a critical legal backdrop. Back in 2016, an international tribunal in The Hague delivered a decisive ruling. It rejected China's sweeping 9-line claims across the South China Sea, including its claims tied to areas like Pagasa. Now, Manila finds itself in a complicated position, what some might call a catastrophic success. Progress has been made, presence has been established, but what comes next requires careful judgment. Because from here on out, every move matters, and every decision will shape what this moment ultimately becomes. The ruling was unambiguous. Under international law, the Philippines has been in the right, whether it's opposing China's occupation of Subi Reef, responding to the harassment of Philippine vessels, or pushing back against radio challenges aimed at incoming aircraft. All of it is happening in waters that legal frameworks clearly recognize as belonging to Manila. But China's answer to that ruling came down to a single word: no. Beijing dismissed the decision as nothing more than a piece of paper. And it didn't stop there. It kept building, kept militarizing, kept pressing forward. Yet the legal side of this story still carries real weight. Not because it has been respected, but because of who is paying attention. Across the Indo-Pacific, key allies are watching closely. Japan, Australia, and the United States all anchor their South China Sea strategy in UNCLOS. Every U.S. Navy freedom of navigation operation in these waters references the 2016 ruling. Every joint patrol between Philippine and American forces operates on a shared belief. International law matters, but only if it is backed by presence. That's where Pag-asa changes the equation. When the Philippines builds there, it isn't just construction, it's a statement. It's turning a legal ruling into something physical. A runway, a hangar, a garrison, a working airfield in the middle of contested waters. It sends a clear message. Sovereignty isn't just something written in a courtroom in The Hague. It's something you can land on, something you can defend, something you can operate from, day after day, mission after mission. China can question every aircraft that approaches, but it cannot erase what that runway now represents. Because the South China Sea has always been a contest between two things: facts on paper and facts on the water. China recognized that early, and over the past decade, it moved aggressively, turning reefs into islands, islands into bases, and bases into fortified military outposts. For years, the Philippines watched from a fragile grass airstrip 270 nautical miles away, an outpost that literally turned into mud when it rained. But something has shifted. Manila stopped being purely reactive. It started building. And what just came online on Pagasa Island is the clearest signal yet that the Philippines is no longer willing to give up ground or sea space, one setback at a time. Now the focus shifts, because the runway is no longer the question. What comes next is more aircraft, stronger logistics, deeper integration with allies, or a new round of pressure from China testing exactly how far this new capability can go? that part of the story is still unfolding, and it's moving fast. Rather than offering a final conclusion, this situation opens a broader conversation about how law, infrastructure, and presence interact in modern maritime disputes. The developments at Pagasa are not an endpoint, but a continuing case study in how smaller states translate legal rights into practical capability at sea.